Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Faith. Karibu sana to Being Money Smart. If you're new here, you know the drill. You subscribe, you click on notifications, and you like and comment in that order. To all the people who've been here from the beginning, you guys are the bomb. And I hope these kind of videos really help you at the end of the day. That's the purpose and point of all these videos. So today I want us to talk about something that honestly affects most, if not all, Kenyans. How to clear debts. If you have any loan, if you owe anyone any amount of money, then this video is for you. Now, the reason why I get so emotional when I talk about debt is because I know the emotional effect that debts have on people. Personally, every time I know I owe someone or every time I have a debt, it just disturbs me psychologically, such that whenever I sit down, I'll start thinking about the loan. I'll be like, oh my God, how am I going to clear it? Why did I take that loan? Was it a good move? So to avoid not having that peace of mind, really, what I usually do is I avoid taking loans. But then again, there are situations where really you can't avoid. And you know what people usually say is that if you ever want to make any significant, progress in your life, you sort of are inclined at some point in your life to go for loans. So to some extent, you sort of find yourself having to pay off debt. So today I want to talk about how to clear debts. You're in this situation where you have so many loans. You look at it, you get disillusioned. You don't know where to start. So really you feel helpless. So I just want to give people a number of pointers, things that you can do that will help you to sort of plan how to clear the loans, because either way you have to clear them. The only way you cannot pay loans in this country is if you die. Yeah, but I don't think that's a solution, clearly, because you want to live, so you have to pay, basically, or you can declare bankrupt. Anyway, that's for another day. Let's talk about reality. You're paying that loan. So before we get to the loan, generally, what would I advise someone who doesn't have a loan? If you can avoid taking loans, please avoid taking loans. Honestly, if you really can avoid, just don't take loans. And if you ever feel tempted, there are people who usually take loans because the opportunity is there. There are guys who, for example, start working and, wherever they work, the employers give them an opportunity to take loans. So if you're one of those people and you don't have anything, you have in mind that would be able to sustain and pay off this loan, just don't take that loan. Postpone it for as long as possible as you think of your options, instead of taking a loan and then you start wondering how to pay it back. I'm not going to be a moral police and start telling you should not take a loan to buy this, you should not take a loan and do that. No. That's not my role, really, because I think as an individual and as a grown-up, when you take that loan and you say, I'm taking this loan to buy this thing, you know what is motivating you to do that. So in this channel, I'll not start telling you only take loans to buy assets. I think we are past that, because I've seen this argument of taking a loan to buy a car, and for me, I think that's an argument I really don't want to take part in, because if this person feels like they want the car, then let them take the car. For me, the bigger concern would be, how are you going to pay off this loan? Yeah, I would not start telling you, you should not have taken that loan to buy a car, you should have bought a house. No. I'm not one of those people. I'd be like, okay, you've taken this loan, but what strategies do you have in place to pay off the loan? So the number one thing is, if you can avoid. If you really have to, then have a strategy and a plan on how you will be paying it back. And there are people who tend to take loans, say, to invest. So if that is your case, you're taking a loan to invest in a certain business or a certain venture, what I would tell you to look at is whatever you're investing in should be able to give you above 13.5. That way you're safe. That way you for real will be able to pay that loan. But look at a situation where you take money at 13.5, then you go and invest in something that will be giving you 7%. That means you need to figure out how you'll be getting the other 6.5 just to break even, just to pay the loan off, basically. Yeah. So those are things you need to look at. There's some people who say, oh, you can't start a business without a loan. my question would be, this business, how long is it going to take before it starts paying you? For example, if you're going to invest in a business that will need like 2 years minimum before you start getting any money out of it, then you should have a solid plan on how you're going to pay back that loan. Otherwise, you'll be so stressed, you'll be so disillusioned, you'll be putting that business at risk as well, because once the bank starts calling, you just have to pay the loan. So let's say you're in the mess already. This video is for those people who are in that mess. They've passed all these other points that I've given out. They did not consider all these things. So wako tu pabaya and they need help. What would you advise them? So the number one thing I want you to do today is this. If you seriously want to clear your loan, sit down, write down all your loans, all of them, even the tiniest ile mama boga pale 20 bob. Write it down. Yeah. Write it down and purpose in your heart that you actually want to clear loans. And not only do you want to clear, you want to formulate, or you want to cultivate a culture where you have discipline to only take because you need to, and not just take because it's available. And I've seen this problem especially with young people when it comes to mobile loans. I will do a separate video on how mobile loans are killing the youth, because someone just thinks it's accessible. They can download the application and take the loan. Someone takes the loan. But what they don't realize is that with time, these small actions are building up into something really big. And when they really need big amounts of money, they'll not be able to because of this small debts that they have. So I'll do a whole separate video at some point during the year on this menace that the youth are currently facing in Kenya. So for you, you've decided, you've written down all your loans. You know them, all your debts. I want you to have a column for loans, and I want you to have a column for interest rates. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because there are people who've had loans way before the interest rates were capped. So their loans are being serviced at a different interest rate. That is if your loan was on a floating sort of interest rate. But if it was fixed, then you just have to pay at that percentage. What I mean by floating is this. If, for example, you take a loan, and this is something guys need to learn about, when you're going to your bank to take that loan, please ask as many questions as possible. And one of the questions you should ask is, this interest rate fixed, or will it be changing with the environment? So a fixed interest rate would mean, for example, right now, if I'm to go to a bank, they would give me the loan at 13.5 fixed. So whatever comes in the future, I will pay at that rate. Even if the government is to reduce rates until 5%, I will be paying at that 13.5. Yeah. And if the government is to increase or release the cap that is currently there, and interest rates are able to prevail according to the market's demand and supply, then it is still fixed at that 13.5. So if they are to go up, I'll benefit. If they are to go down, I will suffer. But I need to be aware of this when I'm taking that loan. However, on the other hand, if it's floating, it means it goes with the current market. So if they go down, even mine reduces. If they go up, I'm affected. You need to sit down and see which particular method works best for you and which one are you comfortable with. And if it's someone who's good, now the sales advisor, they should be able to look at the different models and the different scenarios that you would have to deal with, if it's a fixed one or if it's a flexible one. So always make sure you ask that question. Don't sign a loan just because you've been told it's 10%. 10% what? What if interest rates drop to 2% tomorrow? What is going to happen to that 10%? So always ask that question, yeah? So now you've made the two columns, you have them, right? There are two approaches you can take to this. And this approach, I want to leave to you, yeah? I'm going to give you advice as someone who knows, but I want you to make the choice that best fits you. Because for me, when I'm paying a loan back, my motivation normally is peace of mind. So the same thing with you. When you're planning to clear these debts, I would assume that your motivation is also peace of mind. So get to choose that method which gives you the most peace of mind, right? At the end of the day, the achievement should be the same. At the end of the day, we're going to converge at one point, which is to have cleared this loan, right? So the first one is one that we call the snowball method, snowball effect. So you will list down all of your loans, yeah? after listing them down, I want you now to rearrange them starting from the smallest to the largest going down. So number 1 is the smallest loan that you have. So if it's that Mama Mboga 20 bob, you've put it there. Then the next one, 100 bob there. The next one, 5,000 there. Like that, until you get to the last one should be the biggest. Now, if you're using this particular method, basically what you're going to do is you're going to clear these loans from the highest to the, from the number 1, the one you've put number 1, which is your smallest in this case, to going down, right? And that means that you'll be able to clear your loans and there, like that, until you get to the last one should be the biggest. Now, if you're using this particular method, basically what you're going to do is you're going to clear these loans from the highest to the, from the number 1, the one you've put number 1, which is your smallest in this case, to going down, right? And that means that you'll be able to clear your loan every so often. Because you're starting with the smallest, you'll pay off that 20 bob tomorrow. You'll feel like, I've done something. Then the next day you will aim to clear the 100. Then the next time you'll aim to clear the 5,000. So basically what it does, it motivates you. You feel like you're actually doing something. Yeah. So many people usually prefer to use the snowball method because then it motivates them. They feel like they're making progress. It makes them feel like they're getting out of this hole of debt, right? Then there's the other part, the second method of people who argue and say, there's no point for you to pay the smallest amount if this loan is incurring the least in terms of interests. So for the second category of people, someone who's looking at loans in terms of interest, you've listed them down. Yeah, look at the one that is charging you the highest interest, right? And this is where the concept of floating / fixed comes in. Which one is charging you the highest? If you took a loan in 2010 when interest rates were 22%, for example, and it was fixed, so even up to now, when people are enjoying 13.5, you're still struggling without 22% loan, then start off with that because it's incurring you more costs compared to the 13.5 one that you took after the capping. Start off with the highest and you will see you will be incurring less costs. Basically the costs are in terms of interest. So as I said, look at the method that gives you the most peace of mind, and that is the one that you should settle for. Make sure that you do something that is convenient, but at the end of the day, make sure you're making steps, you're making progress. You really want to clear this loan, you will make progress. And something else, what you realize is you have to pay loans and you still have responsibilities. So balancing the two is really hard. So what I want to tell you is, for you to clear your loans, you'll have to sacrifice on a number of things. So you might need to cut down on some expenses. You will be the one to sit down and look at which expenses can you cut off. You might need to sacrifice on a number of areas in your life. So maybe cutting down on trips, holidays, maybe that new phone that you wanted, that new dress. You will have to look for ways of just cutting down on some of these things. And then something else to tell you is you can actually reduce down on your savings. I usually advise people, if you know you have debts, reduce on your savings. In the sense that whatever it is that you're supposed to be saving every month, you know your savings amount every month, right? Save it, but it's not going to go to your savings account. Channel that money to your debt. Channel the money to clearing that loan. So when I say reducing the savings, I don't mean that now you stop saving. No, I'm just telling you that amount that you save every month, channel that particular amount to the loan. And that way you'll be able to, to reduce and to clear the loan faster than anticipated. And just something else as I come to a close of this video, because really that is the best that you really can do. I wanted to tell people, I've seen a misconception where the people who actually believe that the only place where you can get a loan at a cheap rate is in a circle. Guys, as I said, currently the interest cap is at 13.5, right? If your circle, for example, charges you more than that 13.5, clearly they are more expensive. Kenyans are at a point in their lives where they believe that circles are cheaper than banks. Now, When I say 13.5, this is what I mean. The maximum that any government, the maximum that any bank, not necessarily government, any bank can charge you is 13.5. It doesn't mean that is what they all charge. Because the market is so competitive, banks are charging different rates. So there are those guys who are charging loans at 12%, there are those guys who are charging 11.5. I saw a bank that's charging its mortgages at 11.5, right? So if you're able to get, say, a loan at the same rate, 11.5, then you realize that it's cheaper than taking that loan from a SACCO. So the misconception that SACCOs are the cheapest, no, do your research. When you want to take a loan, compare your SACCO and compare your bank. Then the thing that people usually argue and say is that, no, SACCO is reducing balance. Even banks, it's reducing balance. So sit down with the person who's selling that loan to you and let them explain it to you like a child. Yeah, and sit down with the SACCO guy as well and let them explain it to you. Because what is the point of paying more in the name of, oh, what is it called? I'm in a SACCO. Yeah, and I think I'll do a video as well just to compare the two, banks and SACCOs, because there are so many misconceptions out here. If you're to do your research well, you might realize in some cases it is cheaper to take a loan in a bank. Yeah, and then there's the category of, I talked about mobile money, where the interest rates now, they are crazy. They're skyrocketing. Do you know some mobile platforms are more expensive than Shylocks? Yeah. And speaking of which, if you have any loan from a Shylock, guys, that should be your priority. Whether you're taking method A or method B, just clear off with the Shylocks. Because Shylocks are, they're, I don't want to call them goons, but to some extent they are goons because they're not really regulated. They're not doing a regulated business, and to some extent they're not legal. Yeah, and these guys will resort to any method to get back their money. So they will come to your house, they auction your stuff, they will do all these things. So if you can prioritize to clear off Shylocks and remain with regulated things, I would really, really recommend that for you. Then now you can choose whether you want to do the Snowball or you want to look at the one that is charging you the most interest. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much. Have a plan, have a long-term plan. Put down all your debts, look at the amount that you can comfortably pay, and set down a duration. If it's 3 years and you tell yourself in the next 3 years you want to be done with all these loans, it's fine. I'm not telling you to clear in a day. It's not possible. 2 days, 2 months, 1 year. Have a significant amount of time. You can put 3 years and all that. But what you need to realize is that during that time, you're also hindering your growth. So for someone without many commitments, you can actually decide you will put a chunk of your money to clearing debts. And you will learn financial discipline to avoid debts. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much. I would like to see people making progress in clearing debts. And I'm going to make that video on mobile banking, mobile applications that loan out money to people, for you guys to know how serious this thing is. People are actually crippling in debt. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely week. And the next video should be more fun. Yeah, but clear those debts until then. All right. Thank you. Bye.